This is JMD Mateus, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. This is Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. You are listening to episode 102, and we are in the new era, as mentioned last week, and you are with one of your hosts, the High Priest of Khonshu, Ray, with you. I'm back, and I'm ready to get stuck into it. Now, before I go any further, in the newsletter we did mention that I had a guest host, Noel Tate, as many of you will know, is the frontman to Deleta, who provides the music to Moon Knight. He could not make it tonight. Unfortunately, Noel is sustained an injury, so wishing you the best, Noel. I hope for a speedy recovery, and I hope those painkillers kick in. But in his stead and jumping in is, man, he's here to save the day again. is a good friend and co-host for tonight, Wayne. Wayne, how you going?
Good, sir. I'm back again, back by no demand whatsoever. Here I am, guys. I can't play a musical instrument to save my soul, but, you know,
wow.
Maybe a whistle.
Oh, you say you can't play a musical instrument, but you probably do everything else, Wayne. I mean, you know, we've had many talks previously, and of course, listeners would know Wayne, very generous with his time and effort, and his wallet, for our 100th Moon Knight Into the Night episode. Sorry, Wayne provided those fantastic prize packs to those three winners, as well as drumming up some fantabulous, I don't know, is that a word? Fantabulous artwork for, as you'll note, if you had listened to the podcast, you would see two stellar artworks there by Wayne. So Wayne, you've got a few feathers in that cap of yours, so I wouldn't worry about the musical element.
I can put my ukulele down then?
Yes, and also actually other listeners would probably know Wayne as well. Wayne, a little notorious for your, how should we say, well, you know, they are your views of particular, you know, issues and stuff, and I totally respect you sticking by them and you saying them. They, you know, I mean, you're here to give us your thoughts.
Hey, well, look, the worst thing I could do is come onto the show and give you some watered down opinion that I read off Bleeding Cool or, you know, one of the many plethora of comic websites out there. So, you know, look, the views are mine and my only, and if you have your own views, cool, man. Like, that's, you know, no sweat. Happy to talk about with anyone on the Moon Knight, Into the Moon Knight podcast Facebook page as well. So hit me up there. I mean, look, I don't back down, so
no, and that's good, and that's what generates good discussion. I mean, you know, as long as it all stays.
Look, I suppose what I would say, just to counter, is that, you know, I'm not saying this stuff to be a butthead or to cause the controversy. It's just literally they're my thoughts. So so be it.
Yeah, exactly, and no personal attacks or whatsoever. You know, we're not going to dwell on it, but you are a colourful character, Wayne. So always cool to have you on. And we do have Wayne on for, well, last week. You know, Wayne, with Khonshu losing his golden scepter, as mentioned in our serial, an ongoing serial, Rebecca and Connor took over episode 101, a fantastic episode. I'm not sure if you listened to.
I did.
But the phases of the moon seem to have little sway now on our episodes. So they did a classic run. For tonight, I'm trying to stick true to the course of the moon, so I do believe it is a waning crescent tonight in the sky, and we will be covering a classic run again. So those that have listened last week would know that Rebecca and Connor had covered Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 6. I believe it was called The White Angels. Wayne and we are going to cover Issue 7, a pretty fun issue, Wayne, would you say, without getting too far into it? A pretty fun fun read?
Interesting. For an issue, 1980 or 1981.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, reading this issue, it sort of just captured like a piece of time, in comics, in Marvel, and in the Moon Knight era. So, like, for me, reading this issue 7 like really encapsulated what Moon Knight and Marvel were really about, sort of 1980, 81.
Well, I'm very, very keen to hear your thoughts about issue 7, considering, exactly as you say, it is a,
it's a time capsule.
A time capsule, yeah, that's what I was about. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. The time capsule. So, very interesting to hear your thoughts. I do know from our previous discussions, you especially with Conquer Lord, you do have a lot of fun with the older issues, right?
Oh, they're so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like comics is much like music. And when I'm in the shop, like, I often explain, comics like music to new customers, especially, like, there's so much range and so much variety and so much, like, so much out there that you can really pick and choose to your taste.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, that's what this issue is like all about, and this character is all about, and I mean, it's great. Like,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's and I certainly did enjoy it. Look, we'll get into it after our usual break, but first, Wayne, a little bit of idle chat as always. And what we usually do is talk about our pull list. But what I want to do, Wayne.
Yeah.
Since you're here, since you're keeping things fresh and alive, something different. I thought I'm just going to have a little trawl here through our Facebook group, and look, I'd love to give shout outs to some of these loonies here, but let's just see what's been happening over the last week or so. The first thing I'd like to give a call or a shout out to is one of our loonies, Johnny David Boggs. And Wayne, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but you seem to have a rival with the LCS staff member artist kind of role. Yeah, so again, Loonies, some of you would know that I posted up a few things before. Wayne, mate, you've been brilliant sending me some some pictures of Moon Knight. Really cool, showcasing your artistic ability. Johnny David Boggs here, the owner of his local comic shop, drew him a late birthday present.
I did see that.
Did you see that? We can say different genre or different style of art. I think he's just got a scrunchy bit of paper and a biro there, and he basically has Moon Knight giving the finger to, I assume, Johnny, saying "fuck it up, it was your birthday," with a slab of beer under him. So that's awesome, Wayne. I mean, first thing I've got to ask you is, why didn't you draw that for us?
Well, look, clearly that's probably going to go down on a Moon Knight cover sometime in the future. Who am I to set the standards, huh?
Exactly. I can see it a nice variant cover. Far out, one of those 1 to 25 editions, Wayne. That costs an arm and a leg to get. Right. Scrolling up again, actually, we've got something from our high priest Rebecca. Oh, this was on Twitter as well, Wayne. I'm not sure if you saw. Jason Aaron, he's actually throwing some weight in about actually having something for Moon Knight.
This, I look, and he goes on to say, keep reading the new Avengers run that's going on at the moment. Everyone knows him, I think, now more so for what he did, the turnaround, I suppose, he really did for Thor.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And, man, look, if we could get anything close to that for Moon Knight, I'd be super happy.
Yeah. Oh, me too, as well. It seems that Ghost Rider's having a, what do you call it?
Bit of a resurgence,
Resurgence, right? That's it, yeah.
I've noticed that at the shop, actually. I've been asked a lot of Robbie Reyes.
Right.
A lot of Silver Age, Ghost Rider as well. I mean, someone even asked me for the stuff where he's on the horse, and I was like, whoa.
Right. Oh, look, yeah. I guess probably, is it Hulu? I think because that was announced, wasn't it? Gabriel Luna He's going to reprise his role as Robbie Reyes. So that's maybe generating. I know they've got some Marvel Masterworks reprints, or actually new prints coming out of Ghost Rider, what was that, Silver Age or something? Stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of Ghost Rider bandying about, and I know the upcoming Marvel Comics Presents has an important Ghost Rider. I don't know, I think it's like a mass team-up. It's Johnny Blaze, Danny Ketch, and Robbie Reyes, I think. They get together somehow.
Man, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, like, it just feels like we're on the tip, of something for Moon Knight, something big for Moon Knight to be announced. So I feel like they're hitting all the right genres for stuff they're announcing, whether it be television, whether it be movies, whether it be issues coming out. I just feel it literally is a matter of time. And the fact that, look, it's disappointing that we don't have more, but it's exciting because he just seems to be on the tip of everyone's tongue, and it's definitely a character they've at least spoken about.
Yeah, it's in the back of everyone's minds. I guess I could say, comic book fans and MCU fans alike. Look, again, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But with these teasers, like Jason Aaron putting in stuff about Khonshu and Moon Knight, there's a Moon Knight story kind of coming up, and Matthew Rosenberg actually is going to use Moon Knight in his next arc for the Punisher series. I think Rebecca and Connor spoke about that last episode. He features on I think it's issue 15, a Greg Smallwood cover of the Punisher. Moon Knight's there with Night Thrasher, Black Widow, Punisher, and Ghost Rider as well. So, exciting stuff ahead. Rick Ball, the Rick Ball special, one of the Loonies, he speculated maybe the Thunderbolts might be, which would be pretty cool. Had you ever collected that series, Wayne? Or
I haven't. Scotty at work tells me about Thunderbolts all the time, but I haven't invested the time yet, I'd say.
Okay, yeah, it sounds pretty cool. I only kind of dabbled a bit. I think it was when the Punisher, Elektra, Deadpool, Red Hulk, that kind of era of the Thunderbolts came in. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Look, a couple of other shout-outs here through the group. I'm looking here. Oh, actually, Wayne, I wanted to ask you, Supernova, how did that go? Like, setting up, was that a nightmare? Not nightmare, as in, like, was that stress city for you?
It's always... Look, they're always fun. They're always good to do. It's just, it puts a lot of stress on the shop because obviously it's got to run as well. So when you depleted, 4 or 5 members at a con, it just makes everything a lot much harder. As far as the con went, though, I've heard nothing but good things.
Okay.
Seems to be money's always down every year for everyone. That's generally the word. I just think they need something to... They need a bit of a revamp. I don't know about you guys, but the last few convention I've been to that I haven't been working, it's just harder and harder to... Like, the conventions are coming a bit more like they're coming a bit more pop culture, and it's harder to even, like, trace down the single issues now.
Yeah, because I was talking to David Finn, one of the members of the collective, host of Signal of Doom. He and I were thinking of going. I couldn't go, just had some other reasons. But he was mentioning, I asked him as well, like, are there many... Can you, like, spend a day to go and flip through back issues and stuff there? Or is it, like, all, as you say, kind of only a couple of boxes here and there?
Yeah, look, it's become less and less of that. And
it's a shame.
I suppose that's the hard part when, your smaller independent comic shops, they're paying an arm and a leg for the space.
Yeah.
It is a big week and there is a lot of traffic, but, does it do those guys favours? That's debatable, but it's definitely, like, I think in the last 3 years, all the conventions I've done and been to just with my kids, it's just been harder and harder. Like, I think the last one I went to, Supernova last year, there was maybe 2 stalls that were selling single issues. So,
really? Is that all? Well, that's a bit disappointing.
And that, I'm not talking about, like, a stall that has, 10 variants up on the side of their wall. Like, I'm talking about legit short boxes or long boxes. There's probably, like, 2, maybe 3.
Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
So, American Loonies, this is what we, the Aussie Loonies, have to contend with. Our comic conventions are apparently really a shade compared to what I hear, obviously San Diego, New York Comic Con, all those big ones, just massive.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a population thing as well.
Yeah.
And the distance, between the States and here, and getting the big names over here.
Yep.
Anyone who's ever been, or who's a regular, I should say, to cons will know that, you always wait when the big names have been announced because, there's going to be people pulling out.
Yep. I know Donny Cates, he was meant to show up, wasn't he, last weekend? I think he was a big name. He was the biggest one I recognised. There was Humberto Ramos as well, which I like his art as well. What do you think of his art, by the way?
Look, to each your own. Like, I'm not saying that like I hate it. Okay. I'm not super invested in it. Like,
sure.
A lot of artists I like.
Because it's very distinct, It's kind of, the figures are very elongated. I
kind of dig that because I kind of as someone who paints and draws and stuff like that, there's 1,001 artists out there that do the photo resemblance images, right?
Yeah.
If you can look at something and recognize someone's work, I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's true. And I do like his stuff. I know he's criticised a little here and there for drawing way too long necks. I'm kind of looking at you, Rick Ball. I think I remember your comment. But no, I think overall he's pretty good. Also as well, there's a Simon Bisley. He was in there. He's a legend, isn't he? Yeah.
So, a legend, man. Anyone who's not in tune with his work and what he's done for the comic industry, jump online.
Yes.
Classic Doom Patrol covers. Classic Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
He's a monster in the business, man. And I've never met him, but from what I'm told, one of the nicest guys as well. So.
Oh, okay. Well, he was a big draw card for Dave. So a big shout out to Dave from Signal of Doom. He wanted to go, if anything, to see him. I think Dave's a big Judge Dredd fan. Well, I know he is. So that would have been a big draw card for him. Yeah. Look, it's a bit disappointing. I know that cosplay is a big thing in Australian comic conventions, right? It's kind of on par, isn't it? Or probably even supersedes the comic book element of the comic book conventions, yeah? There's nothing wrong with that, because what I wanted to actually say was I wanted to shout out, we have two Loonies here who posted up something yesterday, Adam Goodread, and scrolling down, we have Kevin Pelaez, and they both have pretty... Oh, actually, I think Kevin might be from the US. Anyway, he's got a cool Mr. Knight costume.
Yes, Kevin, I saw Adam's one. They look great, man. It's funny how Mr. Knight has really taken off with, especially Moon Knight fans.
Yeah. Well, if I was ever to do a cosplay, the first thing I was thinking of was because it's a pretty slick costume. It's a suit, right? So you're not walking around with a ton of paper mache around you, or with a big bobbly head on top of you. You got a comfy suit. You've got like a mask over you. Obviously anonymous. I think that's probably the way I'd go.
Sometimes the simpler stuff's the hardest, because you have to have the attention to detail.
True.
Zeroed in.
Yeah. I know they were talking about, because they were exchanging notes, I think, here, these Loonies, and one was saying, oh, your cosplay's really cool. I think someone was talking about Adams, because he's got pretty cool shoes, because I think one of them used Crocs or something before, which...
Right on.
Mr. Knight is, in Crocs are pretty damn good. Also, a little shout out as well. I saw a photo here. Donald Heckler Martel, another pretty damn cool Mr. Knight there at the Endgame premiere. Wayne, if you had to dress up as someone, who would you dress up as?
Definitely Howard the Duck.
Ah, yeah.
I don't know if you guys know, I'm a massive Howard the Duck fan.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know.
Massive. Even to the extent at work, I was talking about doing an annual Howard the Duck podcast. That's how big a Howard the Duck fan I am.
Nice.
Not even that's legit.
What did you think of what was that movie in the 80s, 90s?
Well, I watched that when I was a kid, man. So, I loved it as a kid. Like a child watching that movie would find it fantastic. And now it's, look, if you were to sit down with a magnifying glass, it's terrible. But it's hit that stage now that it's almost classic. Like, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Sort of status with a lot of people. So I dig it, man. Like, you can thank Howard the Duck or Marvel Universe.
For paving the way. Yeah, you're right. Far out. So, and he's not forgotten. He was featured in Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously, James Gunn had a soft spot for Howard the Duck as well. So I didn't know that about you, Wayne. Nice one.
Yeah. And Kevin Smith's got the animated version coming out. Hopefully,
of course.
So, super excited for that. Yeah, massive fan.
Yeah, you probably obviously did. It was a few years ago. Was it Chip Zdarsky that did the Howard the Duck comic book? That sounded like it was... I didn't end up getting any of it, but knowing Chip Zdarsky now through Daredevil and The Invaders, which just phenomenal in my eyes, it must have been a good run as well.
Look, it's a different take on Howard. It's definitely a lot more comedic, and there's some great moments in there, like when when he makes Spider-Man cry and things like that. So for me, though, I like a little, there's a really good Max series that's not in print anymore, but you could definitely, I think you can pretty much find it on Comixology and things like that.
Howard the Duck Max series.
Yeah, 100%. It's fantastic. But it's a bit more, Howard's a lot more cynical and, a bit more hardened, I think, than the cute, fluffy duck image that he portrays sometimes. But it's a great run. I definitely recommend that. And he also did what's the one with him and She-Hulk? Media Duckling, I think it was called as well, which is also a great run as well.
Okay, Wayne, this is going straight into the show notes. You know that, don't you? So Loonies, anyone who has a penchant for Howard the Duck, tune in on this episode and check out the links. We'll get them to you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and there's Howard's got his own classic runs and stuff like that. So
yeah. I admittedly I don't know much about him. I assume he was the precursor to Squirrel Girl. I know they're both their own thing.
They've crossed over before. The Zdarsky run crossed over with Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Okay. That was okay. It was I think a 2 or 4 issue miniseries they did that spun off from both series. Okay, but I mean, look, not the Howard I would write, but it was still a lot of fun. I've still got all the singles at home.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, they seem to be of the same kind of genre, just a bit on the fringe of the actual Marvel universe, and I know they are part of it, but they seem to have that little distance. And look, finally, just again scrolling through, and I wanted a big shout out here. Geez, I hope I can do his name justice. Raphael Pianikowski. I don't know if you saw that again. Wayne, he showed off his tattoos, and man.
Oh, dude, love those.
If ever you were thinking of having a tattoo, have a look at Raphael's awesome tattoos of Moon Knight and Sentry in tarot card form.
Wicked. I just want to know if he's going to get them coloured. Either way, I think they look fantastic, but I was just wondering if he was going to get coloured or not. But
that's a good point. I mean, like as you say, I think they look good as they are. They're just bloody fantastic. I wonder if you design them or what have you, but they look really good. And then a lot of other Loonies came in, weighed in with showing their tattoos as well. So again, Wayne, tattoos. Have you got one?
Yes.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do. A massive one.
Oh, okay. Have I missed it? Oh, it's on the arm, is it?
No, it's
on the back.
My shoulder, yeah.
Ah, okay, yeah. No, because I was just trying to do memory recall, and I said, no, I can't think I saw one on the.
It's not a Moon Knight tramp stamp. I'm sorry, but
is that a Howard the Duck one?
I refuse to comment on the grounds I might incriminate myself.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice one. So you've been under the needle. Was it a good experience, or was it? I haven't got one myself, but
look, what I did, just the size, the one I got. I got it many years ago now when I was still playing State League. I took one of the chattiest persons I knew with me to distract me as I got it done. It didn't really hurt, man. Like after, like, I don't know, for anyone who has not had a tattoo, this was my experience. I'm told it just depends on what part of the body you get it. You know, obviously some parts are a bit more tender than others. I found my whole shoulder went numb anyway after a couple of minutes. The only thing that hurt was when I had to go back over stuff for shading. So.
Oh, right.
But it's not like I mean, it's not like super unbearable. You've got worse. So
right. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I've always not, you know, just thought, okay, it would be cool to get a tattoo.
I'll give some advice. I'll give the advice my dad gave me, because my mum was my mum didn't see my tattoo for weeks.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to make a big deal of it, and I just happened to walk out one day, you know, with a singlet on, and she noticed it. Yeah. And my dad was like, all right. My dad was cool with it, and he just said, all right, so once you decide on what you want, Wayne, he said, what I want you to do is, you know, take a photo of it, stick it up on the mirror, you know, and then in a month's time, if you still think it's a good idea, then go get it done. And I did that.
Okay, right. So you took a photo, took a photo of whatever the design was, and then you just put it on, okay.
I put it up next to my mirror. I looked at it in the mornings. I was like, oh, I still want to get that done. And, you know, because if it's a bad idea, you know, and by the end of the week, you get like, and if you're doing that, you're having second guesses, then it's probably not the right one.
Yeah, that's true. And don't ever make decisions under the influence. I guess. I've always, those are, sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, you don't want to get drunk.
Yeah.
When thinking that you asked for a rose on your leg, walking out with a nose.
Yeah, that's right. Just a big hairy nose just on your leg. What the hell is that?
Dripping.
No, that'd be cool. I don't know. I'd always fancied an animal. I thought, like maybe
some great tattoos actually.
Animals, yeah. Like one of my favorite animal is the octopus. You know, I'm not afraid to admit it. It's such a weird, otherworldly creature, Wayne.
It really is.
It's nothing like anything else in the world. And yeah, I thought, you know, with the tentacles, that would be, you know, you can have a bit of fun with that. You know, wrap it around the arm or something, or I don't know. Then I thought maybe a tiger as well, because I'm a big Tigers fan. But, you know, I don't know whether I want to announce that the way that they're going. But anyway, so look, to paint a picture for those who aren't in the group, and I should be asking, why aren't you in the group? Come on to facebook.com/group/ITK Moon Knight. Join the group. If you're listening to this podcast, you can have a look at this fantastic tattoo. It's two tarot cards, basically, one on each forearm, on the inside forearm. One saying moon with Mr. Knight crouched on, looks like a chimney or something. And the other one on the other forearm is sun. And he's got the century. Man, whoever thought they would see a century tattoo? But
that last century run that Marvel did last year.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic.
Jeff Lemire, yeah, I enjoyed it. That was meant to be a regular series. They bloody canned it.
Man, under the radar, people get on the wagon about Mr. Miracle. Mm-hmm. I honestly, the century for that run for me was like, man, pretty on par.
Oh, nice. Right.
But it's a lot shorter, obviously, but it's good, man. It's really nice and fleshed out. It's good.
Oh yeah, I totally enjoyed it. I got all the have all the issues myself. Big Lemire fan. Looking forward to the ongoing series, but then they announced 5 issues in or whatever. That was it. So
Marvel way.
Yeah, the Marvel way. Obviously, the numbers weren't doing them any favors. But so there you go, Loonies. Just a little howdy doody into the ITK group just to see what's going on, what's cooking. So keep it up. It's great to see all this fandom, like tattoos, artworks. It's really good to share all this as well. Actually, another shout out. I'd like to actually give another shout out. I saw it on Instagram to our friend Anthony Sitko over at Capes on the Couch, where comics get counselling. He actually picked up an original art, like a page of artwork from Mark Spector Moon Knight, one of the issues from the Scarlet Redemption. Now, those of you would know, Anthony is an Omega level Looney. He has practically everything of Moon Knight, just short of a couple of cameo appearances, and he's a huge fan of the Scarlet Redemption. He and I got to speak to J.M. DeMatteis on our 100th episode. Go check it out if you haven't. It's a very fun interview with one of the legends of the comic book industry. Anyway, so yeah, congratulations, Anthony, on that. That is bloody awesome. He posted it up. It's a picture of Scarlet Fasanera, or Stained Glass Scarlet. She's on a boat, basically saying everyone's going to burn to hell. So, probably not above the mantelpiece. Maybe in some nook or in some study, it would look mighty fine. But yeah, so love this fandom being shared around in our community. Great stuff to see. Anyway, Wayne, we are here for a mission. And our mission is to go through Moon Knight issue 7. Are you up for it, my good sir?
Yeah, look, can I just do one thing for you?
Of course. Sure.
Look, so last time I was on the show, I got absolutely crucified by my co-hosts for not shouting them out. And look, so I'm on a basketball podcast called the Courtside Podcast. Yes. We are very tongue-in-cheek. It's very much, for any sports fans out there, or even comic fans, it's our show is all about that conversation you have with your mates, and that's what we built our show off. So they have been ruthless every week for not putting them over and giving them a shout out. So Vince, Vinrock, the People's Champ, and Stu, second richest man in Sydney, Benson, my two fantastic co-hosts on the Courtside Podcast. A big salute to those guys, and Jesus Christ, we give it a rest.
I think you've laid that one to bed, Wayne. Surely.
Man, I've been confident. Like every episode since has been them shouting each other out on our show, but not me because I'm not a stick.
Oh no.
Rough.
Well,
it's rough crowd.
Yeah. All right, they keep you on your toes, Wayne. That's for sure. They keep you honest. So
yeah.
Anyway,
let's get this issue.
Yeah, no. Actually, let's just go to a quick ad break. Set yourself in, Wayne. Get yourself a nice cuppa, and we'll be back on the other side of this to get into our LUNAR-PICK Classic Run review. See you soon.
Hi, this is Phil Parrish from the Capes and Lunatics podcast, a proud member of the collective, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners, episode 102. Yes, we are triple digits, and we are in our Classic Run review now with a mighty fine co-host in Wayne Hunt from Courtside Podcast. Wayne, and obviously King's Comics, the best comic book store in the universe. Wayne, are you ready?
I am more than ready for this.
Excellent.
This is great.
Excellent. All right, so we are going to cover issue 7. Now, what we usually do for those who don't listen or haven't listened before, this is going to be just an informal chat. It will start off with a sliver, which is basically a summation of what the issue entails. It will then proceed with Wayne and myself just talking about stuff that we think is interesting, maybe question a few things, maybe pan a few things, who knows. And we'll finish off with our patented convoluted moon rating system. Don't worry about it. You'll see when we get there. So, I don't know. I always do throw it to... I'll give you the opportunity, Wayne. Do you want to try and summarise this in a few short sentences? I'm going to put some backing music to this. So,
oh, wow.
So you can either do something really kind of intense and deep or...
I don't know if it can issue. It's... my angle on this one is there's so much to talk about with the art on issues. There's like a lot I'm looking forward to cover. I think as you pointed out to me when we're talking about this off air, it really is a lead up issue to issue 8.
Yep.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's just a lot of prep work done during this issue, a lot of talking, a lot to read through. And I just wish there was maybe a little bit more of what the cover exposes later on in the issue.
Absolutely. That is exactly, I was going to hit on that point as well. It's a pretty juicy carrot dangled in front of us, isn't it, that cover? And it doesn't quite kind of, satiate our appetite within, because it is like a setup issue, as you say. But look, just quickly then, all I'll say before we get into it is basically Mark catches wind from Crawley at Jenna's Diner that in Chicago there's some sort of potential terrorist activity. They don't know what. They go in and they find the water's been poisoned or tainted. A couple of guys called Fox and Simon, I believe. Very kind of, we'll get into it, but they seem to be the ringmasters of this little shenanigan. Anyway, people start going crazy, and that also includes the likes of Frenchie and Marlene. So
Marlene's hot, man. I don't care what anyone says.
Marlene's good. Yeah, she's very she's the steady boat, isn't she? To Moon Knight's bloody dog paddle or whatever.
I was thinking, reading this issue, and obviously we'll touch on it later, but wouldn't it be good to have a series where Marlene loses it when she goes crazy, like the weight of having to deal with, Moon Knight and his multiple personalities literally drives her mental.
Yeah. Okay. That was because what you were beginning to say. I was reminded of Mark Spector issue 34. There's a one-shot issue of Frenchie. It's all dedicated to Frenchie, and he doesn't go insane, but he does kind of enact some vengeance on a supervillain. It's really cool, and when you were talking about that, I thought the same for Marlene would be awesome to actually, spotlight. Well, anyway, so Wayne, let's open it up then. So you mentioned the art by we should probably give some credits here. Writer Doug Moench, Bill Sienkiewicz, the super team there, Klaus, Janson, Joe Rosen, letterer, Don Warfield, colorist, Denny O'Neill, editor, and Jim Shooter, infamous Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. So Wayne, Sienkiewicz's art, good?
It's great. You know what? We should actually mention that for people who are struggling to find this or who want to read more of it, and what's built around this issue. I think it's collected in the Marvel Epic Collections.
Volume 2.
Shadows of the Moon.
Shadows of the Moon. It's in my hot little hands right now. That's how I'm reading it. Yep, exactly. So available in hardcover, in hard copy, but also the Epic Collection is digital as well.
Yeah, and look, if you want it in print, I'd recommend going out and get it, because the Epic Collection's out of print super quick, and that's such a pain in the bum. I wish Marvel would just keep pumping them out, but
I know.
Not to be. The art, man, oh wow, geez, just this cover is crazy.
Brilliant, yeah.
It reminds me of those classic 1980s Hollywood movie posters.
Yes.
The way they've laid out the font. I will say this, I had a little bit of chuckle, because at first glance, if you just quickly look at it, it looks like Moon Knight's playing the guitar. Just the pose.
It does actually. It does actually, because those blades look like the guitar, right?
100%. I was like, maybe that was a photo reference for Moon Knight. But the other thing I dug throughout this issue was just how hard is it to get an expression across to the reader with a guy who has his face covered in black and in a cloak
and two white dots,
and two white dots, and they do really well through this issue to portray that, I suppose. The other thing that gets me every time with these older issues, like they're classics. We touched on at the start of the show. Is the coloring is great. It really reminds me of. Especially going through this, and there's like pink skies and yellow skies and all this crazy coloring. Really reminds me of the Watchmen.
Oh, okay, right, yes, yeah. No, it is good. Sienkiewicz's art is great, and Moon Knight is as fluent as ever with his, I guess the anatomy and the motions. Like there's a couple of shots here a bit later on when he gets kind of attacked by a mob. And he's trying to fight them off. There's a couple of really good, I guess, figure shots, Wayne, where he's doubled over, but he goes for a punch. All very fluid. And yeah, really great, Sienkiewicz's art. He hasn't really hit his stride yet, though, has he, Sienkiewicz? This is still pretty kind of early-ish, I'm thinking, compared to his later works. I mean, obviously, chronologically it is as well. But yeah, no, it is quite nice.
And I always laugh at Moon Knight's helicopter. It looks like a UFO, and
yeah.
You know, like
I think they just don't know what to do with it. It's changed so many times. They just know he's got a rope ladder, and that's about it. And off he goes. I
mean, when you hit that page, that orange sky. I mean, that's how it's really. But the coloring really works, and really is an echo of what they were doing. Like, you'll see this all the way through. Mm-hmm. A lot of the Marvel Epic collections. I just feel like the coloring is fantastic. Like, and it's a very, it's very classic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also as well with Sienkiewicz's art, and I've mentioned it previously, he does like the facial expressions really, really good as well. Yeah. Like there's one of Marlene here in the Epic collection. I can only just cite page 54. She's on the phone to Jake, and there's one of them. And then on the opposite page is that security guard that gets kind of walloped by one of the criminals. I just love these facial expressions, and it gets even better like later on. I remember there's one I posted up of Detective Flint. I think that was in the issues 20s or something. But Sienkiewicz really does change and does refine his style a lot. But yeah, no, another main attraction to this artwork for this issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really ink heavy, but I love it, and I love this style because it's very less is more.
It is. Yeah.
Sometimes there's just enough there to tell the story, and that's all you need. Let the reader's imagination take it from there, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. But having said that, also as well, and I think this is probably the sign of the times as well, Wayne. Like these pages are packed with panels. Like we're talking like small panels, overlapping panels. There's one here. Look, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like there's like 8 or 9 panels, all jam packed in. So there's a lot of information to kind of process when you read this.
I kind of dig that though. I kind of think there's something to sink your teeth in. There's definitely a story here. There's definitely something going on, and it's not just some throw together.
Yeah. Well, I found the pacing to this quite good. Like I think Rebecca mentioned about issue 6. I found the same, actually more so in issue 7. There is a lot of dialogue by Doug Moench, but it did not impede the pace of the comic issue at all. It was actually quite nice to actually just go through it because there's a lot of information as well. I mean, Doug Moench really does, similar to these panels, he does pack a lot in the story. So with the story, Wayne, again, look, maybe going through the main plot of this, which is essentially very simple, right? It's basically Moon Knight gets tipped off. They go to Chicago. And these two guys, Simon and Fox, they decide to hold the city to ransom by poisoning the water. I mean, not the most original, plan.
Sure.
But those guys are a bit underdone, I thought. Like, we didn't know anything about them. We
know Fox is out of control, and he's he's the wild card, I suppose. But I don't know, sign of the times. Like, there's definitely like a lot in this issue that I read and I go, I can see the influence here, in later Moon Knight runs and stuff like that, and things that touched on here, like even slightly touched on here that, like Lemire has exploited and expanded on later on, and it's cool. It's a cool little read.
Yeah, look, I think there is a fine line between it as well. Look, I don't want to say that I do love. Like, it's fun if you have a villain that is very kind of well defined, like say like a rogues gallery, like a Bushman or whatever. So Moon Knight's going up against this person or whatever, or Morpheus. There are a lot of these early stories, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a different sort of thing where Moon Knight does tackle a lot of pretty much like street level crims. But there is a fine line, I think, where you've kind of got to make them interesting enough to make the to give them weight, to make us have a vested interest in Moon Knight to defeat them. what I found here, though, with Simon and Fox were they're probably incidental, because the main thing is about the water, right? The water is the villain, really. I mean, they're just the guys that put the poison in there. But
environmental.
Yeah. But I guess maybe one of the shortcomings for this were I would have liked to have learnt more about Simon and Fox. It seemed a little hurried that this was their idea to extract some money. Like, what was their motive? Like, why? I mean, why?
I think that maybe, I don't know. It's kind of that thing, as a Moon Knight fan. Like, I think, any long-time reader of Moon Knight fan, or anyone who's invested in the character, kind of is aware of the lack of prominent villain.
Yep.
So you're not going to get this issue, because this has been an issue with Moon Knight. But, it's funny you mentioned the street level stuff, because I was actually thinking today, we not harbour on, but, I think we yearn for that strong villain counter to Moon Knight.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking today, though, is it so bad that he is a bit more street level, is a bit more Daredevil? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that such a bad thing?
No, look, I don't think it's a bad thing at all, but, like, I think with Daredevil, at least he has someone like the Kingpin, sure. Or the Owl, like at the moment with Chip Zdarsky. And although that he doesn't interact with them directly, their influence with the street gangs or whatever, or thugs that Daredevil comes across, that kind of, at least that's a head-to-head, like, and that's that sort of thing.
You know what's cool, though? It's like, I totally agree with everything you just said. But I think the cool thing is now it's up to these new writers that are coming in.
Yeah.
There is so many untapped villains throughout the course of early Moon Knight history that you could literally grab one and have free reign and basically flesh him out. Like, even, Conquerlord, obviously one of my villains from...
I was waiting for it.
I didn't say it right. Let me say that. Conquerlord. Even someone like that character, you could take that a mile. Do you know what I mean? If you're a new writer jumping on Moon Knight, I mean, there's so many out there that
you
are
can
now...
modernise him as well,
100%.
Yeah, you have his two rats and... I don't know. His suit, I don't know, but his suit's going to have to be redone, that's for sure. But I totally agree as well. The next writers that do come along, and I was about to say, we have that annual coming in September, but that's Acts of Evil, so he's up against Kang already.
Do you find it weird that we get an annual from a character that doesn't have a series? I kind of find it a little bit weird.
Yeah, I find it weird, but the other half of me just going, look, I'm just going to grab what I can get. Like, no questions, I'll grab it, whatever, like, But maybe also there's a little bit of, okay, does this mean that there's going to be a series coming up? Oh, I don't know.
Hey, maybe it's a lead-in and we don't know it
yet. Yeah, I don't know. So, okay. So Simon and Fox aren't the greatest. There's a little bit of, look. Is it Fox with the blonde hair? He's got a bit of a mop of a head. He, a slight distinct look with the round glasses. So starting to get there, but not memorable enough for me. But as we mentioned, the water is the real thing here, and I guess Wayne, what did you think of these people going crazy?
You know what? I laughed and was like horrified by the panel of the red-haired lady who comes, I think, running out of, I want to say, the museum. and bites him on the lip or the I'm like, first, how do you let someone get that close to you?
And it's quite graphic, isn't it? That is,
dude. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that is a bit off-putting. Like,
she's crazy.
She bit me.
Bit me is what he says. And, man, I'd be screaming bloody murder if that happened to me.
Oh, man. It looks painful, doesn't it? It looks,
I kind of dug it. I in a weird way, I feel like I had seen it before, like maybe a movie like this sort of idea, but obviously, this is from 1980, so it's cool, man. Like, it's a cool twist. It's, this is, again, like, reading this, I'm just like, man, this is something you could just run a mile with now these days. You get a good writer on something like this, and, man, it could change a lot of things.
Certainly can do that. Well, I got vibes of the Incredible Hulk. Like, they seem to be hulking out. They seem to, when the drug or whatever the water hits them, it seems they just end up looking up into the sky. They just bellow out a big, and then they start doing stuff. Because you got Frenchie doing that. There's one bit, I think it's a couple of pages later, Mark's somehow, Moon Knight's somehow figured out, and this is another thing, how he comes about to it. Like, he just stumbles onto it, and then he convinces himself that it's the water, and then it's like, that's it. That must be right. Like, because he goes, there should be some germ warfare, chemical gas, or the water. It's got to be the water. It's like, how did he come to that?
Yeah, good conclusion, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he was spot on. So his detective skills, I don't know, he's got like a sixth sense there. But Frenchie's just going, "Oh, Mark, I've just already had a glass of," and then he goes, "Yeah," and he dare I say, he looks. I mean, quite terrible. I
want to say that, you know, a lot of the early stuff does suffer from. I always use the term like kids writing, right?
Yes.
And then suddenly this happened, and then this happened, and you know everything's very coincidental. And I mean, but that's the fun of reading this old stuff. So you can't harp on that too much, like because if you harp on that, you'll miss out. Like, you know, the last show I was on, we talked about that. That's what that felt like to me, and I was like, that's a real shame. But you know, all this really early stuff, it's very much of that tone, and but it's fun. Like, fun, man, read them for fun. Like,
yeah, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't be nitpicking it. I guess I'm looking for little things just to, you know, kind of balance the. Balance the scale, because I did love this issue. Actually, it was a lot of fun. But that's true. I mean, you can't, because different style of writing, and it is because we're a lot more. I think we as readers nowadays scrutinise things way more than back then. I don't know. Maybe it's a style of writing.
We've been spoilt with such good writing in something like this as well. And I think, you know, the time, you know, and for anyone who hasn't listened to, go listen to episode 100 of Into the Night podcast, because, you know, I definitely got, you know, it's definitely a different time, and they're writing to gain this character esteem so they can keep writing the book. So a lot of it's aimed to be fun. It's aimed to be, I mean, I don't want to say Batman, but, you know, it's aimed for that. Blasphemy, right? Blasphemy. But, you know, it's got that element, you know, of this needs to be fun because, hey, we wouldn't be writing this again in, you know, 5 issues, not be cancelled in 2. So
no, true. I mean, so there are a lot of things that you should really just suspend your disbelief with. So as we mentioned, you know, the backstory for Simon and Fox, this water thing. But
it's ridiculous. It is.
It is. Well, and look, we're heading towards. So what happens? Obviously, Moon Knight, he doesn't drink the water, obviously, because he knows that that's a thing. But he does come across some of the goons of Simon and Fox, and they throw some gas bombs at him. And I guess that has maybe the same or different effect than the other people who are poisoned by the water. But here's a money shot here, Wayne. For me, the money shot for this whole issue, and it's probably a little tragic, is when he looks up at the no smoking sign and the letters shuffle around and form Moon Kings. Now, I don't know about you, I'm always impressed with, you know, how words can be jumbled to make something else. So hats off there to Doug Moench for figuring that one out. But that was pretty cool, I thought.
I like how he worked Frenchie up.
Was that? How did he do that?
He dives in the water, saves Frenchie, pulls him in,
that's right.
Pulls his mask up, starts CPR.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Slaps him really hard in the face.
And then socks him again.
Then knocks him out again. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like you're going about this wrong.
Exactly. Well, let's hope he doesn't do the same to Marlene. I mean, like, and that's the thing at the end, right? So Marlene, that was a big thing. That was the race against time. That's what Mark or Moon Knight was up against. If we're talking about artwork here, Wayne, that last page with Marlene, with the broken mirror and the running water, fantastic.
Oh, I need to doctor that. What was that?
Oh,
Yes. Because I looked at that and went, oh, she's batshit crazy.
Yeah, really well drawn.
I reckon, like, this is, like, I always say this in the shop, when a new issue comes out. I read a lot of number ones, just interested to see how, different takes on things. But I really, the point of a single issue is to A, hook you in, which Moon Knight has done with the cover, and B, to get you to read the next issue, which they've done with the last panel here.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic in those two elements. Like if this was a issue off the shelf, you'd pick it up and you go, oh, this looks good. And then you'd read it to the end and you go, oh, I need the next one now. She looks batshit crazy.
Yeah, it ticks off all the boxes. It's great.
Yeah.
It was a super fun read. And obviously Moon Knight starts hallucinating, and this is where we finally get, what are we, second last page, basically.
Yeah.
We actually finally get these moon men, the monster men.
It's great, man.
Yeah, and again, there's a bit of a parallel, because we see in reality Moon Knight is fighting just these goons, but he's looking as if he's on the moon fighting these crazy monster men. And they kind of hold him, restrain him, and, well, he's in front of an oncoming train. So that's kind of where we're left it with obviously Marlene going a bit crazy. This is another thing, Wayne, the running water. It reminds me of Iron Fist Season 2 with Typhoid Mary. She did that then as well, but she had a reason for that. This one is just to make her look crazy?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going back. I remembered that panel you were talking about, the non-smoking, switching over to Moon King. So a couple of things I really dug about this issue, and you see it a lot throughout the older stuff. One is their attention to make Moon Knight's cape look like the moon.
Yes.
Either he's running or swinging, or always in like that rounded moon shape.
Yeah.
And the irony of him chasing a guy in a wolf mask.
Yes. Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
It's I don't think I think Moench was pretty calculated in that there. He's got one of the other goons has a Frankenstein mask on, and the other guy had some weird dunce mask. I don't even know what that was.
Orange party hat, yeah.
Orange party hat. But yeah, no, it's quite good indeed. Just having
it's cool that whole him. I mean, the panels on that next page of him, very just reminded me of Lemire's run. I know I always talk about when I'm on here, but I love it. I love that run so much.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Just the panel switching from him to his hallucinations to reality. Same shot.
Yep. Well, yeah, that was it. It was touched upon in the Lemire run, wasn't it, with Space Moon Knight, the James Stocco bit with the Wolf guys. I just
wish we had another in this issue. I wish we had another page of that, because it was great. I was like, oh, this sells it for me. Like this jumping between realities and him, trying to center himself. Because he realizes the water's mucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it makes me want to read issue 8 straight away. So anyway, before we get on to the ratings here, Wayne, any other final thoughts here? Crawley had a pretty cool deal again. He's I like the little he obviously tipped Mark off, not completely correct, but it's good to see the supporting cast very much part of this whole world, which you didn't really get to see that much in the Bemis run, right?
No.
The last run. So we're missing out on Jenna and Ricky and Ray and Crawley and Frenchie and Marlene. Marlene turned up, but I think they're very important to the whole world of Moon Knight. So that's one of the main things as well that I really love about this. Everyone's got their little part to play.
It's in a weird way, like they help make Moon Knight. They are the Moon Knight world. Like they're the balance between each persona. It's quite funny that a guy who suffers from multiple personality disorder is has such staple characters actually throughout the history of his work.
Absolutely, and I'd if there ever was a TV series or a movie, I would be just as excited to see Jenna on screen, to see Crawley on screen, to see Frenchie.
Love to see Frenchie.
Yeah, That would be, even if it was like another superhero show, and then you get like Jenna's Diner, that would be just awesome, because they are just so part and parcel of Moon Knight. It's hard to not include them on anything. Anyway, okay, well, shall we give this a good old rating then?
Yeah.
Out of 10, Wayne, I can do the translation into the weirdo wacko moon system.
I think it is.
Yeah. I had a thought, but I might readjust my score.
Well, I think it's like near 7 and 8.
Okay.
For what it is, and like all the things we've mentioned throughout the show, is this going to weigh up against some of the classic runs? No, of course not. But for as far as like a time capsule of both Moon Knight and Marvel, during 1980, 81, or whatever it was, like it's pretty damn good. Like it like you said, it ticks all the boxes.
Yeah. So you're giving about a 7 and 8?
I want to say a 7.
A 7? Okay. Yeah. So in that system, we're looking at a waning gibbous. So just under a 3/4. So 7.5 is the 3/4 moon, obviously. So a waning gibbous for you, about a 7, just a little under.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I truth be told, I was about to give it a 3/4 moon, a 7.5, but thinking again, I'd have to agree with you, Wayne. I think just a little under. I mean, 7 out of 10 is still very good.
I mean, look, definitely, like we said, you definitely pick this apart if we wanted, but for what it is, and it's fantastic for what it is.
Yeah, look, and exactly what you said. Like we can pick it apart with the little things, but yeah, what you said, I'm going to throw all that away because it is a thing of the time. So marking it purely from a thing of the time, I think it's a good 7. I found it really enjoyable. Actually, I enjoyed it a lot more than issue 6. I read that not that long ago because last week Rebecca and Connor reviewed that, and that was a really good issue as well. This one I enjoyed more, just because of I don't know, there was a lot of action in it. Again, I'm a big action guy.
There was a lot to it, there was a lot of fleshing out.
Yeah.
For this, leading to this next issue, and
yes,
but it still covered all its bases,
Yeah, and it's always fun to like this whole trope of poisoning the water and people going mental. It's a lot of fun to see people go crazy, isn't it? So there you go, Loonies. That's an easy one to average out between us. That is a 7 out of 10, a Waning Gibbous. Now, Wayne, before we go any further, we have a little bit of feedback from the Loonies for this one. We have just a couple of comments here from Jordan Hegarty. Very cool Looney. I've been interacting with Jordan on YouTube, which I believe that's how he listens to the podcast.
Right on.
So Jordan says the cover pushed me over the edge, full Looney. So there you go, Jordan. If, like Wayne and I said, if this didn't get you, then Moon Knight playing the air guitar will certainly do it for you. He goes on to further say, love this cover, loved the story too. Yep, well, from our review as well, I think we're in the same boat, Jordan. We very much loved it indeed. A very, very solid issue, and who knows, might even push an 8 for issue 8, because it's all set up now, and things can really start rolling in the next issue. We have another comment here from Josh Janson, one of our valued Loonies. Now, you would have heard Josh on our 100th episode as well, and Josh, a regular contributor to the show. He mentions, pretty solid issue. It's the good old someone's poisoned the water hole plot that's been done in comics countless times, but it's fun to see Mooney handle that situation. I think this story was the inspiration for that Werewolves on the Moon movie that was shown in the Lumiere run. Yes, exactly. This also has a pretty great cliffhanger with Mark about to be hit by a train, and that last page of Marlene finally becoming like Stephen. Crazy. That art, The art of it is pretty good. Marlene looks really fucking creepy. I can't wait to read the next issue to see how this story plays out. But I'd rate this issue a Waning Gibbous. Josh, we are right on the money, Wayne. We are picking these like a dirty nose. It's great.
Dude, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket right now. We're just recording. Get myself a handful of scratchies.
Thank you so much, Josh. That's brilliant. Yep. Couldn't agree with you more for all those comments as well. Highly entertaining.
If Marlene's crazy, like, how does a crazy person deal with a crazy person?
Oh, is it like too negative? Do they cancel each other out?
No.
Do they become...
Is there crazy on the same wavelength, or is it just like clashing realities like this?
It's starting to get too scientific for me, Wayne. Look, also just wanted to mention as well, Josh has been part of, and Wayne, we've got to get you in on it as well. I want to give a little plug to the Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter. It's a little serial that we started a couple of episodes ago. 3 episodes have been released for your listening pleasure. Josh Jerome Mo Johnson was in a couple of them. It's an ongoing saga about all to do with Loonies. Not necessarily Moon Knight. In and around Moon Knight, we're trying to evade any licensing infringements or anything like that. No, we're just having fun. And anyway, we've got a few. They'll be coming out sporadically, so we might drop another bit. It all depends on when we can get it all put together. But we'll feed them in, random episodes, so you can catch up with them. Also, they'll be released separately, so you can actually playlist and play the whole thing from beginning to end if you want. A lot of fun. We're just having fun here in the ITK community. Wayne, we've got to get you on there. Yeah, we've got to get. Oh, actually, I've got a good part for you. We can write Conquerlord in.
I'm down.
You could be Conquerlord.
You just said my bank password right there. Oh wait, I was supposed to say that out loud. I'm sorry. No, dude, I'm in.
Awesome. No, that's great. So check it out, Loonies. Keep an ear out for Wayne in on that as well. His dulcet tones, I'm sure, in any of the future episodes. Well, that pretty much wraps up this episode. So Wayne, a huge thank you for stepping in. You came in on the 13th, 11th, nth hour. Cheers, man. It's been such an easy chat with you, and it's great to go through this issue with you, as well as just talk about other things that just come to hand.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for having me once again. Love the show. For everyone out there, please jump on the Facebook boards and look. There's not a lot going on in Moon Knight world right now, but it's up to us to keep things talking, keep the chatter going, because when it does drop, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's great to have lots of people on board.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely stellar once it all, a new comic book series, a new show, whatever. It's a lot of fun anyway. Actually, Wayne, before we go as well, if you like, do you want to give a plug again to Courtside and where Loonies can find you as well?
Look, if you want to listen to some more tongue-in-cheek of Australia's zaniest basketball show, the Courtside Podcast, you can find us at www.crtsde.podbean.com. Down there you'll find all the links to the show. If you're not so much into basketball, just want to look at some cool art, you can follow me on Instagram, BUYWAH. I'm on there posting. I paint pretty regularly now, so I wouldn't consider myself a comic artist or anything like that. I'm a bit more of a traditional painter, I suppose.
Look, Wayne, you've piqued the interest at least. There's one Looney, I know Corey. He's one of the lucky recipients of the prize packs that gave away, and he was very impressed with.
Actually, I already started mocking some stuff up for him.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, I'll put some.
Far out. You don't lie down. Take a break, do you? You kind of
when inspiration strikes, you don't be sitting in your hands. So you gotta jump on it. So
I like it. You hit while the iron's hot. You strike while it's hot. Yeah.
Just jumping in. Like the last thing you want to do in anything is regret, right? So if something whatever it may be in your life, just take the chance. What's the worst that's going to happen, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, no, your artwork is fantastic, Loonies. Go search it out on Instagram. Check it out. Wayne does regular posts of his stuff. And definitely worth checking out. And, maybe even hitting Wayne up for some work. Anyway, thanks again, Wayne. It's been an absolute pleasure. Loonies, you can obviously catch us on all the usual platforms. We are on email at itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We have our Facebook page and group. Facebook page is facebook.com/itkmoonnight. Our Facebook group, which is, we're into the 900s now. I can't wait for 1,000. We are heading towards that, like Icarus towards the sun. It is facebook.com/group/itkmoonnight. We are on Twitter. Our handle is @itkmoonnight, and Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube. Just search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Finally, you're obviously listening to this on a podcast catcher of your choice, but we are available on all the main ones. So, so if you want to change and try Google Play or Stitcher, or what else is there? iHeartRadio. We're all on that. Give us a listen. Thank you very much. And finally, any iTunes ratings would be very much appreciated. Look, even if it isn't for a high rating, just to let us know what we can improve on our show. We do love feedback, and we do love trying different things out for everyone who loves Moon Knight. So that pretty much wraps up episode 102. Next phase, I will be joined by Phil Me in Perich, the intrepid host from Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatic Sidekicks, and one of my favourite podcasts, The Quantum Zone. He'll be joining me we'll be looking at a double hit, so I guess you can call it a trade arc review. We're looking at Mark Spector Moon Knight issues 32 and 33. That will include a black costumed Spidey and the Hobgoblin/Demo Goblin. So that will be a fun one to review with Phil. Check out their podcasts too. They're brilliant. Anyway, Loonies, that is it for tonight. Be good to yourselves. Look up at the moon. Praise Khonshu. And as we always say, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.